What's up, guys? I'm doing a brake line in real time today. We got a 3/16 brake line. It's 1/4 inch brake line going front to back, but when it hits the splitter, it's 3/16. So make sure you verify what size you need. You can go to the parts store, buy a pre-made line with fittings if you want. I make all my own lines out of copper nickel alloy, never rusts. If you like this video, drop a like. And make sure you subscribe if you're not already. So we're gonna get to it. Somebody's already cut off the brake lines, pinched them off so they can make it over here. I've got everything I need to make my own flares. You can rent a toolkit or buy it for like 20 bucks. You got a cut off and a flare tool. These are gonna be regular flares, not double mobile flares. 14mm on the old brake line fittings. I've already got my 14mm. I'm going to use a 6-point socket on these fittings. And I've wire wheeled my bleeders, my bleeder valves, and sprayed them down with PB Blaster because we're going to have to brake. We're going to have to brake bleed. I've got a video on brake bleeding if you don't have any pressure bleeder, vacuum bleeder tools, don't have a helper. I've got a video on that to do it by yourself. Here's our brake line fitting. Somebody's crimped off. I'm gonna clean that out and reuse it. I have a video on that as well. Now we just gotta get this one off. This one points down at an angle, so it's very hard to get a ratchet on. This video is all about real time, so I'm just gonna film everything. I'm gonna grab a 14mm wrench for that. I've loosened it a little bit with the ratchet, but I can't turn it no more. Like I said, 14mm is pretty common on these fittings. Sometimes it'll be a 12 or whatever. A lot of times they'll be rusty and you'll have to wire brush them. The 14mm, super tight on here because it's swollen up. But we'll clean that fitting off. So when we put it back on, it won't be super hard to get a wrench over it. We got our two fittings off. When you get them off, you want to verify what kind of flare they have on them. This is just a regular flare. And we're going to clean those up. See if I can get an angle on this vise. There we go. First thing I'm going to do is wire wheel, clean these up. Pretty important to get the threads clean if you're reusing them. It's easy to cross thread brake lines, the fittings into the hoses. This is 3/16 brake line, so we want to use a 3/16 drill to clean them out. lot easier to just buy a pre-made line. If it's a little too long, you can always put some coils in it. But I do brake lines on the fly all the time. So this is just the easiest way to always have brake line in stock. Some people use a brake line bender tool. With this thin of line, it's easy to do it by hand. I only use the bender tool for the bigger line. Hard to get those right angles. Put our fitting over the line. I might invest in a hydraulic flare one of these days. Got it in the 3/16 spot with it barely sticking up, so you can run your finger on it. We got our flare tool locked in place. Tighten that down. Now we got ourselves a new flare. Just like that. I'm going to start with just plugging one end in. I'm going to do the tricky side first. Where it points downwards to the axle and doesn't give you much room. We'll put a little bend on it. And you don't want to cross thread these. Really easy to cross thread. Make sure it goes in quite a few threads. Wire wheel the threads off so they should go in smooth for a while. Use a line wrench if you have one. It's usually the best for getting that final torque on them. You want to make sure you got these guys nice and tight so they don't leak. Using the copper nickel alloy, they squish really easily, so you shouldn't have a problem sealing them up if you got a good flare on there. After you do your flare, if there's any cracks on the end, cut it off and start again. You can buy the steel line in the rolls, but spend a couple more dollars and get these. I'll never have to do the lines again. All right, now I've got my line nice and tight. Let's see what we got here. See if we can see. Can't see very well. But anyways, I have fabricated my line to run where I want it to. And I'm gonna cut it off right after where it goes into the splitter. I'm gonna give myself just a little extra room just in case a flare doesn't take and I need to cut it. Just a little extra length. I'm gonna take my cutter tool and cut it right there. I've got a couple different tools like this. This is my small one. It's the one I like to use the most. You just tighten it down, spin it around, tighten it a little more, keep spinning, tighten it a little more. It'll give you a nice smooth finish there. When you're bending your line, the only thing you don't want to do is kink it. I'm going to bend it over so that I got a lot of room to put this line clamp on. Same thing, tighten it down with it sticking above just a little bit. Enough room to get you a flare going. If you don't have enough room, you can take your line back off the other side and do this off the vehicle. It's a little easier, but I think it's a little faster this way. Get the job done. So that point's right in the center of the brake line. Take that down, make a flare. And this would be even faster if I would have bought like a 2-foot line with fittings already on the edge. See, but I didn't put my fitting on. Got ahead of myself. Gotta have that fitting on the line. And that's one reason to leave yourself some extra. If you mess up, you can always just take a little bit off. You'd be surprised how many times I forget to put the second fitting on. It's ridiculous. Alright, second fitting's on. Clamps tight. Line up the flare tool. This copper nickel alloy just flares so much easier than the steel. Doesn't take a lot of pressure. Look at the angle of where it's going into the brake hose and the brake splitter. Try to get that angle right so it threads in there smooth, no cross threading. There we go. I just gotta tighten down that nut a few more spins and it's all done. At this point, if you don't have any hold downs left like this one, somebody took them off, you can put some zip ties on there if you're not sure how you're feeling about your line. It's gonna wiggle around it all. Put some zip ties on, hold downs on, whatever you gotta do. But now we're gonna open up the bleeders. Hopefully they don't snap off. I might put a little heat on them, they look real rusty, and bleed the brakes. I got a separate video on that.